What's up guys, Dave here. It's official, we finally found out what the tech specs are for the Xbox Scorpio. Digital Foundry were invited to Microsoft's Redmond campus the other day and they're being allowed to reveal exactly what they found out while they were there. So we just have a quick look at what we'll actually be getting from the Xbox Scorpio. So the CPU is going to clock in at 2.3 GHz per core and there's going to be 8 of them. They're going to be custom made cores. This in comparison to the 8 cores from the Xbox One, which used the Jaguar. That clocked in at 1.75 GHz, so we're actually getting a further 0.6 GHz out of that, which is pretty awesome. So we take a quick look at the GPU. It's going to come with 40 customized compute units and they're going to run at 1172 MHz. That's actually running at a faster frequency than was first announced earlier on in the year. People were speculating that, you know, it's probably not going to run at that higher frequency, but there's going to possibly be more compute units there. Now, if we compare that to the Xbox One, that only had 12 compute units, and that actually run at 853 MHz. Now, the Xbox One S did run slightly faster at 914, but as you can see, that's a dramatic difference in power. So next up, we have the memory. Now the Xbox One, it only used DDR3 RAM and that was at 8 GB. Now it did have 32 MB of SRAM, but that wasn't really utilized and I don't think it was actually used as Microsoft thought it was going to be used. It was meant to make up for the fact that it was running at a lower frequency than the DDR5 that was released by the PS4, DDR4, sorry. But it didn't really make up that extra space and it was a bit lagging. So what Scorpio were doing, what Microsoft has decided to do, is put 12 GB of the DDR5 RAM in there. And that's a lot of RAM. And the memory bandwidth for that is going to be running at 326 GB per second. We just compare that to the Xbox One, that actually run at 68 GB per second. And that's pretty much a big difference. Now the SRAM run at a max of 204, but like I said, it wasn't really utilized, so no, the bandwidth, the speed of the memory, it wasn't great, if we're being honest. It was pretty poor. Now the hard drive is going to clock in at a terabyte. I bet pretty much everyone thought it was going to come out with a terabyte. Now this day and age, the size of games and how easy it is to download games and apps and movies, you couldn't go for under a terabyte. Now, Nintendo might have fucked up and gone for 32 GB. God knows what they're thinking there, but 1 terabyte, that's pretty sweet. You can't complain about that at all. Now, like the Xbox One S, it will have a 4K Blu-ray drive, so you can play 4K Blu-ray straight from your console. You won't have to stream it like you do on the PS4 Pro, which is a bit of an upgrade from the original Xbox One because it was only a Blu-ray player on there. Now, so what does this mean for the Xbox Scorpio? It pretty much means they have met their specs for this 6 teraflops that they were talking about. They've hit it bang on. We're going to see a lot of games natively played at 4K, and it's going to do a good job of upscaling the Xbox One games to a certain extent, but the biggest things you're going to get from Xbox One games and the backwards compatible 360 games is that you are going to see them hitting the full HD 60 frames per second more often, hopefully for the entire duration of the game, because it's all about immersion and you're not really getting that immersion if you're not hitting that 60 frames per second. So the Xbox One it fell down, so did the PS4 to a certain extent, where it wasn't consistently hitting those 60 frames. Jesus, sometimes it wasn't even hitting the 30 in some games when you were having a lot of aspects on the screen. So to have just the standard Xbox One games running at almost a guaranteed 60 frames per second is pretty sweet. I'm imagining the 4K games, they're all planning to run at 60 frames per second, but time will tell whether they will actually carry that out. I'm not really going to dive deep into the tech specs. You can probably find other videos and articles elsewhere which will explain it much better than I can, but we're actually going to get a pretty good console, especially if the price point is right. One of the things I'm excited for the Scorpio is that they've actually announced that the game DVR is going to record at 4K 60 frames per second. That's pretty awesome for people that want to record gameplay. A lot of people like myself, we have separate cards where we record our gameplay footage, because when you're recording on the Xbox One, you're only getting 720p. Now it might be at 60 frames per second, but you're not getting full HD. So to know that for the Scorpio you can get not only full HD but 4K quality DVR gameplay, that's pretty awesome, especially since they've recently had an upgrade to give you 10 minutes of gameplay footage to record rather than the previous 5. I think one of the things that is pretty awesome is that the DirectX 12 is actually going to be kind of inbuilt into the architecture within the console. So what this means is that it's going to be much easier for the console and the CPU to just generate the 4K gaming immersive experience that you need. It's going to be much easier to have the 4K 60 frames per second on the screen, and with that you're going to actually have more things on the screen at the same time, because they don't have to cut corners to try and make the hardware keep up. It's pretty awesome, the console that's going to come out. Now, we're not going to talk about any first party games and that's another discussion for another day, but the actual hardware on the table, I'm pretty impressed. As long as the price point's good, I'll definitely be picking one up. And if the price point is a bit shitty, I'll probably pick one up anyway. I hope you liked the video, guys. Hit the like button if you have. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.